What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Saturdays in the SEC, episode 159. Back for a Week 8 recap in the SEC and college football. As we've been talking about the last few weeks, it's going to be a super busy coaching carousel cycle this year. It's already really been kicked into high gear pretty much with James Franklin being dismissed from Penn State last week. We talked about it a little bit. Now we have another one in the SEC and Billy Napier being fired from Florida. Kind of something I feel like that you've been seeing set in motion since that USF game, early in the year, the way this year was going for Florida, that you knew this is going to be the end of the road. So by no means it was a big surprise. I said last week I thought if they lost to Mississippi State, he'd be let go. Turns out that was going to be the case anyway, going into a bye week for Florida and have a chance to make that change. So just want to get your thoughts on that and kind of where you see the Florida program as a whole, and then kind of who some targets are going to be, or even who you would go after as the Florida Gator AD.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that it happened. Obviously, I called for his job last year. I said he wasn't going to make it to Halloween last year, but it was just delayed a year. So he's been a dead man walking for a year down there in Gainesville. I got a couple buddies from college that are big Florida fans, and they were restless with him. They were ready for him to go. Thought that it should have been done a year ago. Kind of saved his job there at the end, but just couldn't do it again this year. I mean, even in this game with Mississippi State had their chances to win this game. They turned the ball. Obviously Mississippi State forced some turnovers, but Mississippi State turned the ball over late when they were in field goal position to potentially take the game. There at the end, they missed a field goal earlier that would have had them having the lead. So Florida didn't play just a phenomenal game, and then they got fired. It was, the writing was on the wall. He coached till the very last second, so you gotta admire that about him. I like Napier a lot. I think he's a great guy. I just don't think he's cut out to be a high quality SEC coach for your first big time head coaching job. No, he does come from the Saban tree, had some success at Louisiana Lafayette, but it's just a different ball game. I think in the future he'll have another big name job and be just fine. But that's a tough job to go in and take your first, premier program job. So just tough to overcome a lot of stuff that came along with that and what he inherited. However, Florida is one of the few schools that can say in the last 25, 30 years that they've won a national championship, not only in football, but in basketball and also baseball. Like they're a very premier school, a top 10 job in the country, if you ask me. Recently, they haven't done a whole lot, but man, the 90s and the early 2000s, they were the it program. So it can get back to that, no doubt about it. I think that they're going to go get a big splash hire. I don't think they're going to go in for another guy that's coming from a group of five or a lower level program, or what you would say. I don't think they're going to do that again. Obviously, the hot name for any job open right now is Lane Kiffin, especially it's hot around Florida. I think that it would be a fantastic get to get Lane Kiffin. Eli Drinkwitz's name has been rumored around that job as well. I think he would be a really good fit there. I think there's a couple, like John Sumrall, probably not going to be tied to that job because he was at Troy and Tulane. He's trying to make his step up, essentially what Napier did a few years ago. I don't think they're going to go down that road. I think it's going to be a more of a proven guy. So those are the two big names that I'm hearing a lot about. I've heard a little bit about Gruden. I don't think they'll pull the trigger on that because that would be just like hiring a guy from a lower level. He's never coached a big name college program ever. So I'm excited to see who it is. I assume that calls have already been made to Kiffin. I'm sure that the offer is there. I'm sure that they would let him finish out the year. I'm not sure how all that works with recruiting now, but I think that Lane Kiffin is probably your number one guy, along with 4 or 5 other schools right now. And then the list goes on from there. But I think it will be Lane or Eli is probably the two top names that if I was a Florida fan, that I would want to be the coach.
Yeah, kind of what reports have been saying too is like it's definitely Kiffin's. Like if he wants it, it's going to be his job. I think that's very likely that, I don't know exactly if he'd take it or not. I think obviously he would give it great consideration. And to be honest with you, I ultimately think he's going to get it. I think he will take it, to be honest. I don't think it's slam dunk or anything because he definitely loves it there in Oxford. There's no doubt about it. He's done an amazing job there. But I do think there's a little more that he wants to go accomplish that he probably can't get done at Ole Miss. And I think a job like Florida would allow him to do that. I would love to see him and Kirby going head-to-head year after year. And we, saw that game on Saturday that we'll cover in a little bit. But, yeah, I ultimately think he's probably going to get there. Something else I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit later, too, is I think something that could throw a wrench in it is if that LSU job comes open, too, because I could see them going after him. I think it's a very real chance he may have, multiple offers by the end of the year or staying at Ole Miss, too. So it's going to be really interesting to watch his market because, as you said, he's going to be one of the hottest names out there.
Well, Ole Miss is going to offer him. They're going to counter whatever the other school. I don't now. Will they? Can they get in a bidding war with those schools? Probably not. But they would find a way to come up with something to be lucrative down there for Lane. Now, if Ole Miss makes it to the playoffs this year, is there any reason that he leaves? I still think yes, there's reason that he leaves, and he probably does. But there's a good argument out there that if he makes the playoffs this year, with what a lot of people expected him to be, an 8 or 9 win program, not a college football playoff team. If he makes it this year, is it a lateral move or would it be a step up? A lot of people are asking that question. I personally think it would be a step up because of what I said, the programs just as a whole. There is alignment there at Florida for sure. I think that it would work out well. Also, LSU, both those, deep pockets there. You're going to be able to get guys that you want easier than you are at Ole Miss. Campuses, in my opinion, better. The story, the history of the programs are better. But if Ole Miss makes the playoff this year and those other two probably don't, Florida obviously doesn't, LSU's looking like they're probably not, would it even be consideration, or could he just stay at Ole Miss and say, well, this was my quote-unquote worst team in 3 years, 4 years, and I made the playoffs with them? So does he even want to leave if that happens?
No, it's a good point for sure. And I don't want to get too far on the hypotheticals because obviously we have more time as the coaching carousel, evolves. But I did want to ask this, and I was asked this question last night, and I wanted to get your answer on it. I honestly think there's a very real chance, a very real possibility the LSU job could come open, especially if they don't finish the year like they want to with 2 losses now. They got a tough schedule. They got 3 games they're going to be underdogs in to close the season here. If they go 8-4, 7-5, I think it's a real possibility they're going to make a move. That seat's definitely heating up for Brian Kelly a little bit. So I don't want to get too far on the hypothetical. If that LSU job comes open, though, and you've got LSU and Florida, let's just assume, like you said, pretty much the resources are going to be fairly equal. Let's just assume all's pretty much equal. If you're Lane Kiffin, are you taking the LSU job or the Florida job? And I was asked that last night. I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Man, I don't know. I feel like his personality fits Florida a lot better. He's no filter, says whatever he wants on social media, behind the podium, on Paul Feinbaum. He doesn't care what he says. I feel like that's what Spurrier was that way. Urban Meyer wasn't so outlandish about it, but he would say things and do things that was a little crazy. But Spurrier's definitely that way. I thought he fits that a little more than he does the LSU. But also, every coach since Nick Saban at LSU has won a national championship there. Not Brian Kelly yet, but I agree with what you're saying. He's probably out at the end of the year if they don't turn it around. So he could be another coach. You can go win a national championship there, so that's enticing as well. It hasn't been done at Florida since 2008. So, there's definitely pros and cons to both, but I feel like he fits Florida better than he fits LSU. That makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of said the same thing. I was like, honestly, I would lean LSU slightly. Like, it's close. But like you said, the factor of that they've won titles with multiple different coaches, even guys that didn't even be successful long term, like even as long as Kiffin has been. So I would say I would lean LSU. I just think historically they've got a little bit more history. Pre-Spurrier, Florida was not a good program,
Right.
so they're more a little bit in the last like 30 years or so. But I mean, still, I'm like you, a top 10 job. I mean, it's a premier job, no doubt about it. Like I said, I would lean LSU slightly. It's a big debate. I do agree with you, though. I do feel like his personality and the style of coach he is kind of fits at Florida better. I mean, I think McElroy said it this week on Jocks, like he's a modern day Spurrier pretty much. Like, I mean, that's kind of who some of his traits remind you that he wears the visor, he says what he wants to, he kind of says it like it is.
He's clipboard.
Yeah, he's going to score a bunch of points. He's an offensive guy. Like, you see what he's done with quarterbacks in his track record with that. So, I mean, it is very Spurrier-like. And, I think he would do really good there. And, like I said, I think they're going to make a big play for him. Obviously, Ole Miss is going to make a big play to give him extension and keep him there. So, it's going to be fascinating to see. And with all these jobs coming open, or potentially, you could have LSU. Auburn's probably coming open. Florida State sounds like they may make a move by the end of the year if they get their finances in order. So it's going to be curious to see where James Franklin fits into this whole conversation, because he's going to get one of these jobs that comes open. So kind of curious to see where he fits in. A guy like Alex Golish, a guy like Brent Key, there's some really good kind of up-and-comers that are going to factor in here. So it's going to be a very, very fascinating coaching carousel here coming up over the next 2 months or so.
I will say this. As much as Lane Kiffin talks about loving Oxford, and the special about him came out a few weeks ago, if he doesn't do what Kurt Signetti does and sign a deal mid-season that extends him for however many years, then he's probably leaving. If that doesn't come from Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin that he's extended before the season ends in the next 2 weeks, probably that's my timeline. The next 2 weeks, if that doesn't happen, he's probably not coming back to Oxford. Because if he wants to stay there, he truly wants to stay there. They'll work out a deal right now, and he'll announce it tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I think that there's mutual interest between him and both of those programs, but especially Florida right now. I think he's playing the waiting game to see what else comes open, see who else contacts him, but I don't think he's back in Oxford next year, especially if in 2 weeks he hasn't signed an extension with Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it would be, if he is intending to stay, it would be best to go ahead and get that done just to quell any rumors like, hey, that
no distractions from the team.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you got a team that's pushing for the playoff. Like, you don't want... you don't really want that hanging over your head if you can avoid it, and you kind of know deep down like you're going to stay there at Oxford. So, yeah, I agree. It's going to be fascinating to see, and obviously if that does happen, then we'll kind of have our answer. But if that's still lingering over the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, then yeah, it's going to look more and more likely that he will probably take one of those other jobs. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see kind of how all that unfolds.
100%. All right, let's jump into the games. We can just start at the Florida-Mississippi State because we're covering the Napier news. Florida, they escape one here. They had a big lead, and then Mississippi State scored back-to-back touchdowns pretty quick and were able to drive. I mean, had a fourth and something that they converted to continue a drive for their last touchdown to bring it within a possession. So I thought that this Mississippi State team, we've said this 1,000 times every time we've covered them this year, they are going to fight to the last whistle. This team is not soft. They are mentally strong. They aren't physically getting over the hump there on the hill, but there is no quit in this team. They are in it till the very end. And outside of 3 miscues, they win this game. Now, obviously, you can say that for any game. But missed a field goal that would have had them win the game. They fumbled the ball on a big drive, and they threw an interception late in the game where they were in field goal position. Didn't have any timeouts, but I couldn't believe they were throwing the ball there. I really couldn't. It would have been... they were on the 29-yard line when they threw the interception. If they would have not thrown the interception there, that would have been a 47-yard field goal. Most college kickers can at least be in that range. I just thought maybe run it, do a quick, get your kick team on the field pretty quick and try a field goal. Maybe they didn't want to rush it. I don't know. I just couldn't believe they were throwing it in that situation. However, fantastic game, very exciting game. But when you watch the game, in my opinion, I thought the better team the whole game was Mississippi State, but Florida was able to pull it out there in the end.
This I don't know how you felt, but particularly the end felt very much like the USF game for Florida. That Mississippi State just wasn't able to close it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they had the turnover, but kind of same thing. Like USF drove it down the field, was able to get in field goal range, and ultimately got it very close to make it pretty much a sure thing of a field goal to win the game. But the end of this game felt very, very similar to that, except, like you said, Mississippi State just made a mistake, had other mistakes, but threw the interception in Florida territory at the end instead of obviously having a chance to win it. So, yeah, that's kind of gave me flashbacks to that. But, yeah, Florida escapes. Ultimately, it didn't matter as far as Billy Napier's fate there. But, yeah, like you said, man, State's really close. I feel like they're going to get somebody sooner rather than later. Just came up just short again. But, yeah, all in all, really good ball game, and they're definitely making improvements. And like I said, I think they'll get over that hump soon of knocking somebody off and getting an SEC win.
All right, Diego Pavia said preseason, we're going to win the national championship. We're going to be in the college football playoff. Everybody, including me, mocked the hell out of him. Said he would end the year with 7 wins. He's sitting here right now at, 6-1? 1 win away from what I said their total would be. They're not going to only win 1 more game. They're going to at least win 3 more games, looking at their schedule. They came out, and in 4 of their first 5 drives, they scored points. First 2 drives were touchdowns. I mean, they could do no wrong, and they had multiple drives of 9-plus plays. I mean, a 9-yard touchdown drive, an 8-yard touchdown drive, 10-yard touchdown drive, 10-yard field goal drive, or 14-yard field goal drive, whatever it was. They made things happen, and they were able to limit the big plays from LSU, and when LSU got the big plays, they limited the damage. LSU broke off a humongous run, and the Vandy defensive back, can't think of his name, made the hustle play of the weekend, tackles him down there at the 4 or 5 yard line, and they hold him and then force LSU to a field goal later in the game. That would have brought it within a 3-point game if they would have scored a touchdown there. I thought that was probably the play of the day for Vanderbilt. I mean, fantastic hustle play by Vanderbilt right there. But they just limited all the big plays and limited the damage and took what LSU gave them defensively. But offensively, they pretty much had their way with LSU. Outside of the last few drives, which I felt like they were trying just to eat some clock away, but I thought that Vanderbilt dominated this game from the first snap to the last snap of the game. And again, just the big part of this was they limited the big explosive plays that happened for LSU. They didn't let it snowball into bigger and hurt them any more than it already had.
Yeah, I mean, really, this game was played on Vandy's terms. I mean, this is exactly the way Vanderbilt wants to play the game. This is the way they want to win and the way they kind of have to win games. And you mentioned that 51-yard run that LSU broke off. Well, they only had 49 rushing yards other than that. I mean, Vandy outrushed them 239 to 100. Vandy scored on 5 of their first 6 drives. They got off to a really good start. Like I said, they dominated on the ground. They dominated time of possession, 36 minutes and change to 23 minutes and change. Like, I mean, that's how Vanderbilt wants to play. They ran 67 plays to LSU's 49. I mean, Vanderbilt's so good at limiting possessions, kind of shrinking the game a little bit. And, I think what gets lost in the shuffle, too, is these new clock rules we've had the last couple of years. It leads to this more, like, this kind of style of football being more successful, you know what I mean? Because you're able to shrink. Yeah, you're able to shrink the game a little bit, and it kind of plays into the style of football that Vandy wants to play. And it did a great job, man. I mean, like you said, it was a close game, but Vanderbilt was in control. Like, the better team won. There was no doubts about that. I just liked the way they were in control of it. Like I said, and it was played exactly on their terms. I mean, Diego Pavia, I think, had 17 carries in this game, had about 80 yards rushing. I mean, just a dog-like performance. I mean, kind of what we've seen from them. I mean, they were, a pretty good team last year, but, man, I mean, they returned everybody back, and that never guarantees you anything, but, man, they are much, much better than they were a year ago, and they were pretty decent then. So, big hats off to them. I mean, game days in town this week. Missouri's coming in, a big SEC game both teams only have one conference loss. Obviously, we'll preview that in a little bit, but man, I mean, Vanderbilt's really set themselves up well here down the stretch to make some serious noise in the SEC and potentially playoff picture.
100%. Two teams that are probably definitely going to be in the playoffs this year, Ole Miss and Georgia, kicked off this weekend. And Georgia picked the perfect weekend to not start slow. Obviously, Kirby knew he could not start slow against this team. And Georgia scored on every single possession that they had. Didn't even have to dress out the punter if they didn't want to, because they scored points on every single solitary possession they had, except for the last one when they kneeled it out and ended the ball game.
Yeah.
Now, Ole Miss scored on every single solitary possession they had until the fourth quarter. Then they had 2 or 3 punts and a turnover on downs. But, man, this was one of the most fun games I've seen. Obviously, the over smashed in like the third quarter. I could have never imagined that there would be hardly any usage of the punt team in this game. But again, like we've said over and over and over again, there is no better in-game adjustment coach than Kirby Smart. And you saw that in the second half, outside of a couple of big shot pass plays. Ole Miss really wasn't moving the ball, and really all day they didn't run the ball really well. They just did enough to keep Georgia honest. But they just had a lot of big pass plays. And then Georgia, they snuffed that, started getting after Chambliss a little bit. I thought Chambliss, though, for that being the biggest environment he's ever played in, thought he handled it great. The moment was definitely not too big for him. Again, one of the most fun games that we've seen this season so far. These are definitely two of the top teams in college football. I don't see either of these teams not making the playoffs. One of these two teams is going to be in Atlanta, and the other one's going to be sitting at home waiting to go play in the playoffs. This was one of the best games. You don't ever remember seeing an Ole Miss taking Georgia down to the wire. Obviously, in the more recent years they beat them last year. But like pre-Kiffin, Ole Miss damn near never had a game with Georgia, and now they're taking them down to the wire, beating them handily last year. I thought that the road environment or the home environment for Georgia was the game-changing factor. I thought they definitely played a role late. It was loud. You could hear it through the TV. I thought if they were at Ole Miss, it probably goes in Ole Miss's favor with their home field advantage. But, yes, the home field advantage played a part in this game for sure. But, again, the second-half defense, especially the fourth-quarter defense of Georgia, shows out again. They're like 35 guys deep on that defense. I feel like they rotate guys in every single snap. They got new bodies all the time. They are a very, very good defense. They've gotten better every single game. And, again, in the second half, there's not a better defense and not a team you want to play. That's Georgia. Nobody wants to play Georgia in the second half. They're the best team in America.
Yeah, I mean, kind of same thing in my game notes. I mean, Georgia scoring on every single possession is just absolutely absurd. I mean, really the big difference, like you highlight, was the fourth quarter. They outscored them 10-0 in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss only got 2 possessions. Georgia stopped them twice. And then I believe turned them on down, so they had 3 possessions, I believe. But, yeah, I mean, it was 35-33 Ole Miss going into that fourth quarter. Georgia owned it, held Ole Miss to 88 yards on the ground. I believe outrushed them. Let's see, I believe it was 221 to 88. So, Georgia was able to own that area of the game. I think time of possession, they had a pretty significant edge too, 37 minutes and change for Georgia there. So, beautiful day for Gunnar Stockton to have a career day.
Yes.
I mean, it was a great time for that. Georgia season high, 510 yards of total offense. I mean, Stockton was 26 of 31, 289 and 4 touchdowns. I think he added about 50 or so yards on the ground and an additional touchdown. So, yeah, man, I mean, it was definitely an offensive game, but it was a great time for Gunnar Stockton to have the game of his career so far. And like you said, Trinidad Chambliss thought he battled as well, too. He didn't quite have the running game that Stockton did on Georgia's side. But, yeah, man, this is a super high-level SEC, felt like a college football playoff type of game. And, yeah, man, Georgia's tough. I mean, you got to get them when you have your chance. You know, Ole Miss, they were up 35-26, fairly late in the third quarter. But they just weren't able to finish the deal totally. Let Georgia hang around. I mean, give Georgia a lot of credit for the way they execute offensively, but they just weren't able to get those one or two stops they needed to be able to win the game for them. But man, like you said, it was definitely one of the most entertaining games of the college football season so far.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. Third Saturday in October, Alabama and Tennessee. Fantastic game in the first half, trading blows. Defense is showing up. Really, that was the most surprising thing to me was the lack of points scored in the first half. I thought it would be a high score. I thought what happened in the Georgia Ole Miss game would happen in the Tennessee Alabama game, but the first half, really, neither offense could get going. And then Bama put the dagger in them right there at half with the 99-yard pick six. I mean, a game was over after that. I mean, the stadium was rocking. I thought it was, that's a play. Obviously, as an Auburn fan, I don't like to see that. But that's a play as a fan. It's like, you're going to remember that forever. Like, that is, especially in a big game like that. Like, that's a play you're going to be telling your kids about 30 years from now. Like, that is one of those types of moments. Again, it's Alabama, but when I watched it like over again and could hear the crowd erupt, I got chills, man. Like that's a cool moment. I want to hear your thoughts about the game as a whole, though.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I wish I had $1 for every time I've watched that pick six back. I mean, that was an incredible play. The crowd pop moment. That was a really good job by the staff there calling a timeout there and kind of forcing their close to halftime. Tennessee obviously was in the situation where they didn't have any timeouts with 9 seconds there, and thought it was kind of a strange play call because you kind of knew Tennessee was going to throw it, but they went a straight play action, and obviously Alabama's defense had it played perfectly. Thought Xavier Brown, kind of creeped in like he was going to set the edge, kind of to run, and then kind of almost baited him into throwing it, and obviously just they had the perfect defense call for it, and fortunate too, like Aguilera threw the ball a little bit more inside rather than outside to allow him to make a play. And like you said, that was definitely the play of the game there. A huge momentum swing before half. I mean, even if Tennessee just gets a field goal there, it's 16-10 rather than 23-7. I mean, that's just a huge change of momentum. Outputs of the year on the ground. So thought for the most part, Bishop, he ended up having a pretty good game. Actually, he went for over 100 on the ground. But kind of like Alabama's done most of the year, it was really like one or two pretty long runs. Other than that, it wasn't anything too crazy. I did think one of the possessions of the game, though, was Alabama started pretty slow after half. They had 2 straight punts and then or had the fumble where Simpson got the ball knocked out of his hand. But then going on that 99-yard drive once Tennessee cut it to 10, if Tennessee's able to keep them, in their own territory and get the ball back, I think it could have been a different game. But once Alabama responded there to go back up 17, that was pretty much all she wrote. Like I said, there was a window there for Tennessee to get back in it, but just wasn't able to string quite enough stops there to cut it close enough. But I thought it was impressive on Alabama's side. They didn't allow a sack, which a Tennessee defensive team that hasn't been great, but they've been pretty good at getting after the quarterback. So the fact they didn't give up a sack was nice. All in all, a solid game. I mean, Ty Simpson, another solid game for him, and just so impressive the amount of things that they're putting on his plate. All the checks at the line of scrimmage and all the different formations and play calls that he's on to run. Like, they're putting about as much on his plate as any quarterback in the country, and he's just doing an outstanding job. And for only his 7th career start, just really impressive to see how he's operating this offense. I really like what I saw from Daniel Hill in the second half. Obviously the Alabama running game hasn't been great so far this year, but it just kind of shows how good Ty Simpson this pass game is because, the offense is still really effective, even being fairly one-dimensional. And if that can continue to develop, I think this offense is only going to go up the rest of the year. But, all in all, not a bad game for Tennessee from their standpoint. Just a few too many mistakes. And obviously couldn't quite get it close enough in the second half to make a real run at it. But that pick six and not going in one possession into halftime was definitely one of the key factors of it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, the biggest little sequence of the game was Tennessee scores to bring it within 10. Then Alabama fumbles, so Tennessee has all the momentum, and they force a punt, and then they drive down 100 yards and punch it in and pretty much seal the game there. The dagger happened at halftime. Game was over there, but they sealed the victory, with a whatever, a wax stamp or whatever the hell they call it. Moving on, let's go to Texas A&M and Arkansas. I thought this was a very fun game. Texas A&M proves again that they can win several different ways. No matter what type of ball game they're in, they're going to find a way to win it. This is what championship teams do. I've seen Georgia do this. I've seen Alabama do this. I saw the 2019 LSU team do this. Teams that can find a way, no matter what type of ball game is playing out in front of them, to go and get a victory, no matter the caliber of team they're playing or what. Teams that can find a way to go win, those are the teams that end up, obviously playing their best ball at the end of the year, but those are teams that find a way to win championships. I think this Texas A&M team is going to do really well this year. Obviously, there's a lot of football left to be played, but I think that they're going to be in the college football playoffs. I think they make a run because, again, week after week, they have proven they can do it several different ways. Hats off to Arkansas and the fight that they put up. They were in it too. Early in the game, they had their first two drives stalled out when they had big plays down there inside the 10. Their drive stalled out and they had to settle for field goals. Had a fumble later in the game. They had their chances as well to get this game. It just a lot of what Arkansas has done this year, just gotten their own way and hurt themselves, self-imposed wounds with penalties and things along those lines and turnovers. But fantastic game. Hats off to Arkansas on the fight that they have. But yeah, this Texas A&M team, they're legit, and they're going to be playing for a championship later in the year.
Yeah, man. I mean, like we talked about with A&M, I mean, this is a complementary team, a team that can win multitude of ways. They've won some lower scoring games like they did against Auburn. They've won a couple shootout type of games against Notre Dame and now Arkansas. Yeah, it's a really good team. I mean, their offense is really, I think improving, rounding into form. This Arkansas team, man, they're playing really inspired too. I mean, they've had two really good efforts the last couple weeks. I mean, they were just within arm's reach of A&M this week. They went into Neyland and played Tennessee really, really tough, scored a lot of points. So this is not a team. Unfortunate for your Auburn Tigers, but this isn't a team you really want to play right now, honestly, because, I mean, as we well know, Bobby Petrino is trying to make a statement. He's trying to lock down his old job and get back in that head seat full time. So I think Arkansas could wreck somebody's season down the stretch. Like, they're playing that well offensively. I mean, the defense is what it is. Like, the defense is not good. It's not going to be any good this year, but Taylor Green, man, he's a great quarterback, man. He's one of the best playmakers in the country. Like I said, I thought A&M kind of had – I mean, I know it's a 3-point game. It was back and forth. I thought A&M kind of had them arm's length a little bit. Arkansas was able to score real late to cut it to 3. But all in all, I mean, it was a particularly close game in the first half. But, yeah, I mean, again, another wildly entertaining game. Over 1,000 total yards for both these teams. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, A&M, they're a complimentary team. When their defense gives up a little bit, their offense is able to make up for it. When it's kind of a grinded out type of game, they're able to find a way there as well. So I'm really impressed with this A&M team, and really impressed with what I've seen Arkansas recently and how they continue to fight too.
Yes, I want to correct myself. Arkansas did not have any turnovers this week. I had that mixed up with Mississippi State fumbling the ball. Arkansas's only turnover was a turnover on downs earlier in the game. However, they did shoot themselves in the foot a couple of times and hurt some drives and stalled some drives out and had to settle for 3 instead of 6. Early, that really could have put A&M in panic mode, but you're 100% right. Not to get too far into the episode, but I'm picking Arkansas to beat Auburn this weekend. Auburn has to go to Arkansas. Auburn's offense can't do anything. Arkansas's offense can do a lot of things. Auburn's defense, I think that they can hold Arkansas to 21 to 24 points, but essentially that's all you need to beat Auburn this year. So I think Arkansas finds a way to get it done because I just have no faith in Auburn's offense. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. I want to keep covering a couple of these games. We were talking about Auburn. We'll just jump into it. Missouri comes down to Auburn, and Auburn was in control of the game the whole time, and Missouri stuck around and found a way to win. Again, this is another championship caliber team. I saw Georgia do this against Missouri themselves in 2022, I believe, when they won their second championship. They struggled with Missouri all the way down to the wire and found a way to win. That was what this game reminded me of for Missouri. Auburn had several opportunities to win this game. Couldn't find a way to get it done. Let Missouri hang around. Auburn missed some field goals earlier in the game that would have had them. Missed 3 field goals in the game total, but the 50-plus yarder, say what you will, I don't know that he should have trotted McPherson out there, especially with his health conditions and, things along those lines. But, I mean...
Is the other kicker hurt? Or not? I wasn't sure of his status.
I don't think he's hurt. There's 3 kickers on the roster. One of them, Magoo, he does the kickoff, and he kicked field goals for last year. And then there's a kid on the roster, I can't think of his name, that he kicked a field goal a couple weeks ago and missed it. So I don't know that he's getting a whole lot of opportunities. But Auburn missing Cam Coleman. I say missing. Cam Coleman dropping what essentially is probably a touchdown pass and then throwing an interception the very next play. I mean, just things like that just continue to happen for Auburn. But again, Missouri found a way to stick around and stay in it. I did want to bring this up because I sent this to you the other day. Another coach that I think is going to be looking for a job here in the next few months is Hugh Freeze. And that reason being, he has played 13 ranked games, he has played 13 ranked opponents at Auburn since he's been there, okay? His record, everybody knows, is 1-12. He's got a 1-12 record versus ranked teams at Auburn. In 8 of those games, this is including the win against Texas A&M, in 8 of those games, he had a lead in the second half. In 6 of those games, he had a lead in the fourth quarter. Comes away winning 1 of those games. If you tell me that Auburn has some of these games double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, but if you're telling me Auburn's leading in the fourth quarter in 6 ball games against ranked teams, I'm going to tell you they at least win 3. You tell me they got a second half lead in 8 of these ball games, I'm going to tell you at minimum they win 3. Probably 4. Probably go 500. Nope, Auburn wins 1. Auburn just finds a way to lose games. They don't find a way to win games. Later in the game, Auburn had 3 separate drives, back-to-back-to-back drives, where they had a chance to put Missouri away. Punt, turnover on downs in the game, sack, throws it to the lineman, whatever, illegal touching. It's pretty sad. I try to be the most optimistic Auburn fan that there can be, because I know it can always be worse. But when it got to be 4th down for the final play of the game, and Auburn, this isn't overtime, and it's 4th down, and I'm looking at the screen and I'm saying, this game is going to end in a sack. And sure enough, it wasn't a sack, but it might as well have been because he threw it going down to a lineman, so whatever. Dead play, illegal touching, whatever it is, whatever the flag was. But that's like, sitting there knowing what's about to happen because they've done it 3 plays in a row. I don't know, man. And then Hugh Freeze says that there's execution in the first 3 quarters and they call the same play and there's no execution there. That's continuous. That is a coaching issue. That is not a player issue. Because if it's continuing to happen, it ain't being coached well enough, in my opinion. I think that Auburn, the administration at Auburn is waiting this weekend to see. There's some reports coming out that the multiple higher-up boosters at Auburn and the AD, John Cohen, are behind Hugh Freeze and are saying that, he's played 4 ranked really good teams, and he's been close in all of them. It's come down to the wire in all of them. We feel like he got screwed on a couple of calls in some of them, so they still believe he's the guy for the job. That's what reports are saying right now. There's other reports coming out saying boosters are ready for him to be gone. What I think is happening is they're waiting to see what happens this weekend. Because, yeah, he's had close games and played really ranked teams really well. But if he goes down to Arkansas and loses to this Arkansas team, I think that makes the job really easy for Auburn and the administration. And I think they fire him after this weekend. So I think that there's just playing a waiting game week by week. Will it work out? I don't know. But hats off to Missouri. You are not playing your best game. You're not on your P's and Q's this game. Auburn's defense is giving you fits. And then you find a way to tie and take it to overtime. Auburn misses the field goal in overtime. You've got a chance to put Auburn away, and you missed a field goal. You're at Auburn, all the momentum and all the fans, the noise after you missed that field goal, it is set up for Auburn to go win that game. And Missouri shuts it down, goes out with a win. Again, that is what championship caliber teams do. This Missouri team has proven that they can win games in multiple ways. They've proven that they can compete with any competition. They played Alabama down to the wire a few weeks ago. This is a very good football team. Again, found a way to win. They got it done and move on to the next. This team's going to be competing for a playoff spot. There's going to be a couple more games on their schedule that's going to define that. But this Missouri team is the real deal. We talked about them in the preseason. We said 6.5, over or under 6.5 wins. Bang it. It moved up to 7.5 soon after. Bang that too. They're going to get 8+ wins this year, no doubt about it. I'm really excited to see that Missouri-Oklahoma game here in a few weeks. That's in 2 weeks, I think. That's going to define both of those teams' seasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Missouri was able to get the job done. I'll be honest, I really thought after the way that game ended, I was expecting a Hugh Freeze firing on Sunday.
I said he shouldn't have made it.
I'm surprised we're on this podcast and he's still a head coach of Auburn. Like I said, the way it ended, it was like, man, it's like the same type of story 4 straight weeks, or 4 straight games. I mean, it's
same story for 3 straight years is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not 2 weeks, 3 straight years.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you kind of laid it out perfectly with, the leads he's had in second halves and 4 quarters. It has been the same thing. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, kind of the same story, I mean, not able to finish game. I mean, you highlighted it perfectly, really. I watched this team. It's like you see some teams just flat out find ways to win games, and Auburn just finds ways to lose them. I mean, it's like it's almost the same script that you've seen over and over, and it's just like, man, when is it? I mean, you're so close. Like you have moments where you're playing really well, like your defense is playing great, but it's just like your offense will be fine for a little bit, and then it's just no consistency, no ability to be able to sustain for a full 4 quarters. And I'm curious to see. There's some talks of them getting Ashton Daniels ready if they need to go to him. We'll see. And yeah, I mean, I'm like you. If he loses that Arkansas game, I think it makes it pretty clear at that point. I think it's eventually going to happen anyway. Like, I don't think he's going to be the Auburn coach next year. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough place to go play after all of these ranked opponents you played to now have to go to Fayetteville and play an Arkansas team that can light up the scoreboard on you and has been playing really well and inspire football, and an interim coach that's trying to wreck a few seasons and trying to lock down that boss hog job again for himself.
Absolutely. You said it a minute ago and it reminded me. If I hear Hugh Freeze tell me that we're close one more time, I will drive down to Lee County. I will pound some ass, and I will need somebody to come bail me out of jail because I'm sick and tired of hearing it. We've been hearing it all season. The first 2 seasons he got get out of jail free cards. Not this year. And the reason that Auburn fans are so upset is not because he's losing games. It is how he is losing games, and it is how, like I just said, it's been 2.5, 3 years of this. It has not changed. When they had lesser talent, it looks the same now with fantastic 5-star talent. Now, there are players making mistakes, for sure, that would change these games. But when the same mistakes are happening over and over again that is shooting you in the foot, that's bad coaching. Not being able to adjust, bad coaching. The last few offensive drives for Auburn against Missouri left me scratching my head. I was very, very upset with 3 and out. So, whatever. We'll move on. Oklahoma takes on South Carolina. Just bad game for South Carolina. I wonder how many yards Lenore Sellers ran in total this week because Oklahoma. I mean, we all know how good Oklahoma's defense is. They were on Lenore Sellers all night, forced 2 interceptions, had a safety in the game. This game was all Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense wasn't all that. I mean, they drove down the field a time or two and ended up scoring, but they weren't just lighting it up. But, man, their defense was, again, star of the show, star of the season, one of the best defenses in the country, if you ask me. And Lane Kiffin's coming out in a press conference saying that he believes that they're stealing signs, which is not illegal. If you can pick up signs from film and across the field, by all means, do it. And he was jumping some routes, or they were jumping some routes this past weekend, doing some things against Auburn that Lane Kiffin said he saw in some film that they were stealing some signs. So, and then Texas goes no huddle in the second half of the Oklahoma-Texas game, and Oklahoma's defense starts getting some issues. So, things like that. That's part of the game, obviously, but that being that attention to detail is going to give your team an edge, and especially is giving this Oklahoma defense an edge. I felt sorry for South Carolina and the South Carolina offense because they had no answer at all the whole game. I don't know how many times they punted the ball this time, but it had to be over 6.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina offense has definitely been a problem. I mean, kind of felt like this is a pretty typical, like a prototypical Oklahoma game we've seen this year. I mean, you're not lighting it up offensively, but just kind of letting their defense take over. I mean, that's what they've been able to do in most of their games this year. They outrushed South Carolina 171-55. I mean, this South Carolina offensive line is just not good. They're banged up across the board. Got a lot of injuries right now. So yeah, it was a rough go for them. Like I said, Lenore Sellers is not in a great situation right now. And there's been some protests there in Columbia today. A little unhappy with their offensive coordinator, a guy by the name of Mike Shula. And there were some fire Shula chants echoing through Columbia today, and it felt like a flashback to Tuscaloosa circa 2006. That chant has been echoed before, I promise you that. But yes, it is a rough go for the South Carolina offense right now. Obviously, Alabama coming into town this week. We'll see if they have any, last breath, last gasp of air to kind of come up with a chance at an upset. But it definitely wasn't happening this week against the Sooner defense.
All right, Texas goes to Kentucky, comes out in overtime, winning by a field goal, 16-13. This was you talked about an unaesthetically pleasing game a few weeks ago. I can't remember the exact game it was. This is the definition of not aesthetically pleasing. The first 7 drives total from both teams was either a punt or a turnover on downs. Texas scored the first points of the game on a touchdown on the 7th drive of the game, or the 8th drive of the game in total. I mean, and that was midway through the second quarter. This was a sloppy game. Missed field goals, turnovers, just not consistent drives, 5-6 play drives, ending in punts. I mean, this was just an absolute slop fest. But this is what Kentucky does to everybody in the SEC. We've seen Kentucky do this to several teams, especially going to Kroger Field. Not an easy place to play. This is a very tough team. We've talked about Mark Stoops-led Kentucky teams before. This is another one of those. Not quite up there with the upper echelon in talent with the rest of the SEC, but, man, they're going to fight till the very last whistle. They're going to give you hell. They're going to give you all you got, and that was another thing we saw this weekend. They just had a few mistakes on offense that ended up costing them, but I thought as a whole their defense played out of their minds. Probably the best game I've seen them play all season.
Yeah, the aesthetically pleasing game or unpleasing game I was talking about was our preview for the Oklahoma-Texas game. And Texas offense in this game, even though they won, made their game against Oklahoma, they looked like 2019 LSU in that game compared to this game. I mean, just some of these numbers are mind-boggling. The fact that Texas was able to come out of here with a win. By the way, first off, this is the difference between the SEC and the Big 12. You know what I mean? When you got to go up to Lexington and some of these places that slop around and find a way to get a win, Kentucky has done this a bunch of times. Georgia has went up. Some of Georgia's best teams went up to Lexington and just had to fight and claw to get out of there. Similar situation here. Time of possession, 39-19 to 20-41, advantage Kentucky. Kentucky outgained them 395 to 179. Like I was.
How did they win?
I know it's mind-boggling. Penalties, Texas had 7 for 50. Kentucky 3 for 25. Kentucky did have the one turnover, so Texas won the turnover battle. But yeah, pretty crazy how you look at the stat sheet. Quarterback comparison. This was a crazy too. Cutter Bowie 31 of 39 for 258. Arch 12 of 27 for 132 yards. Like, you know, you'd read that stat sheet, you'd have been, man, 31 of 39. You'd have went, oh man, like that's a pretty good game for Arch. Like that's a couple good games in a row now. No, that was Kentucky's quarterback, Cutter Bowie, with that game. Yeah, the fact they were able to get out of here with a win was crazy, honestly, because this offensive performance was that's got to be one of the worst outputs offensively they've had in no telling how long. I mean, certainly of the Steve Sarkisian era, but I would imagine it's been quite some time. But yeah, like you said, it certainly set the game back, but that's like part of being in the SEC, though. Like I said, there's been many teams go up here to Lexington and have to fight and claw to get out of there, and give them credit, they did, but it was a very, very tough offensive game.
100%. All right, let's move into Week 9 matchups. Kicking off at 11 a.m. on ABC. Ole Miss taking on Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Both teams are 6-1. Oklahoma is a 4.5-point favorite. Over/under set at 54.5. I'm probably going to do a same-game parlay with this game and take Ole Miss money line plus 175 under 54.5.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm very, very interested in this game this week. I mean, you look at both teams 6-1, both one conference loss. I mean, with both teams, I mean, if you get 2 conference losses this year, you're probably, I would say more than likely, out of the race for Atlanta when you consider we've got 2 undefeated conference teams. We still have 6 teams with 1 conference loss. So that's 8 teams with 0 or 1 loss. So I kind of look at this as an elimination game for SEC championship race goes and getting to Atlanta. More than likely, I mean, just unless we have just a ton of chaos down the stretch. Kind of same thing with Missouri and Vandy. Both those guys have 1 conference loss, so it's gonna, I would think, pretty much eliminate one of those teams if you get to 2. But yeah, I'm super pumped for this game. Obviously, the matchup with Ole Miss's offense against the Oklahoma defense is going to be fascinating, and with the sign. Allegation that Lane has thrown out this week. Going to be, interesting to see how they handle that and what they're able to change up. Do they go a little bit more no huddle? Excuse me. So it's going to be really curious to see. I really don't have a great feel on the game, honestly. I'm kind of like you, man. I'm kind of wanting to lean Ole Miss's direction. But I don't really have a strong feel. I'll guess I'll lean Oklahoma at home, but I think it's a field goal, 1 possession game. I do want to see more out of Oklahoma's offense. Just felt like we haven't got that recently, especially since John Napier and his hand injury. I want to see how much, if they can have a little bit more success against this Ole Miss defense who's been a little bit more susceptible. Georgia was able to have great success. Not very high confidence at all for me, but I'll lean Oklahoma with it being in Norman and being 11 a.m. kickoff.
Reason I like Ole Miss is not many people go to Athens and put up the numbers that Ole Miss did on a Georgia defense. Again, we already covered the second half defense for Georgia was phenomenal. They still gave up 13 points, 14 points, whatever it was. Ole Miss still able to move the ball. I just don't know that Ole Miss is going to get their points. They're going to find a way to score points. I don't know that Oklahoma is going to be able to do the same offensively with the lack of just home run ability that they have on the offensive side of the ball. What we've seen recently, I think they're going to find a way to get after Napier. He didn't look fantastic the last few weeks. Still kind of rusty getting back into it after his surgery. So I think Ole Miss is the better team. I really think this Ole Miss team is a college football playoff team. I like them to go handle business. If you really want to play it safe, take them plus 4.5. But I like them money line outright to win this game. Auburn's going to Arkansas. I alluded to this earlier. I think Arkansas is going to win. Arkansas is a 2.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Arkansas to cover. I think Arkansas wins outright. I have way more faith in Arkansas's offense than I do Auburn's offense. I think the over-under is 57.5. I think I would take the under there. I don't think that Auburn's defense is going to give up a whole lot of points. And I know this Arkansas defense is not phenomenal, but Auburn's offense can't get out of their way half the time. I think Arkansas finds a way to get it done. I think it's a lower-scoring game, probably somewhere around 20-10, 20-14, something like that. Give me Arkansas to win. I'm going to say give me Arkansas to win 20-14.
I actually took Arkansas as well. I took them a night or two ago. I actually took Arkansas at +1, and now it's swung in their direction. They're on a lot of sports books. I think they're -1 or 1.5 now, so I took it for it cross 0. I'm like you. I just think Auburn with 4 straight losses, the way they're struggling offensively, I just see a more, I guess, inspired Arkansas team right now, the way they played the last couple weeks. Just things are just not great in Auburn with the coaching situation and, early kickoff in Fayetteville. I'm like you. I like Arkansas here. I like the under as well. I think it's going to be more like I can see like a 28-24 or something like that. I think it's probably a little bit more because I do think Auburn can score particularly early on this Arkansas defense because Auburn has been better in the first halves of some of these games. So I do think Auburn. I don't know if Arkansas can hold anybody in the teens, to be honest. So I think Auburn gets it in the 20s for sure. But I'm like you. I like the Hogs to win this game, and I think this time next week we won't be talking about Hugh Freeze probably as Auburn's head coach if that's the case.
I think I agree with you. Bama taking on South Carolina. Bama's an 11.5-point favorite. In later or previous years, I would have taken South Carolina in this spot. This writes South Carolina big-time upset all over it. That offensive line, they're not able to protect Sellers. Their offense can't get anything going. You just mentioned they're trying to fire their offensive coordinator. Fans are uneasy with him. I think Alabama gets it done. South Carolina's defense, they're okay at times, but they're no match for this Alabama offense. I like Alabama to cover -11.5. I'm staying away from the over-under because I think it could get ugly. I think Alabama could put up 30+. So give me Alabama -11.5.
Yeah, this is definitely a tricky spot for sure. Alabama's come off 4 straight ranked opponents. It's the week before a bye. You're going on the road. It can absolutely be a tricky spot for sure. Obviously, I like the way Alabama's playing offensively. I think ways this game could stay close for South Carolina and give them a chance. Dylan Stewart is an absolute handful. Like Alabama's tackles, this is going to be a tough matchup for them. So if they're able to get some pressure, if he's able to get back there and maybe get a strip sack, something along those lines. Alabama's offense has struggled a little bit, not finishing drives in the red zone. So if they're not able to finish drives early, obviously Lenore Sellers, the offensive line's been really bad, but it's like, man, he is a absolute load to bring down. And this is an Alabama team that doesn't have super high sack numbers, so there's a few ways I could see it being close, but I like the mindset of this Alabama team right now. They're not turning the football over very much, so I just think for those reasons, I like them to go on the road and take care of business. I don't think it's going to be a blowout necessarily or anything like that, so I'm not going to take the number, but I do think Alabama goes on the road, takes care of business. If South Carolina's offense was in a better place, I would definitely predict this to be closer, or give South Carolina a much better chance to pull the upset. I just don't think they've got the pieces and they're healthy enough right now. But it is one of those situations, like I said, if you're Alabama, if you don't go on the road with the right mindset, you're not able to finish some drives, you could look up in the fourth quarter and this be a game. But I do believe they'll go on the road and get a win here and get to the bye week.
Tennessee's going to Kentucky. We just talked about Kentucky's performance this past week. It's tough to follow that up back-to-back weeks against back-to-back really good opponents. I think Tennessee's offense is way better than Texas's offense. I think Tennessee gets it done. They're a 9.5-point favorite. I think they cover that. I might buy it down to 8.5, but I'm probably going to ride it at the 9.5. I don't think Kentucky can stack back-to-back performances like that defensively. Tennessee's defense is not great, but we saw Cam just read out those numbers from Kentucky this past week, and they only put up 13 points. I just don't see Kentucky being able to light up the scoreboard the same way that Tennessee can. I like Tennessee to jump on them early and get out of there with a win. I think they win comfortably, probably somewhere in the ballpark of 28-10, 34-20, something like that, somewhere along those lines. I think it's a 2-touchdown victory for Tennessee.
Yeah, I like Tennessee to bounce back here as well. Offensively, hit a little bit of a speed bump, had a couple turnovers last week, or had the pick six, wasn't able to finish a few drives. The output could have been more than the 20 that they scored, but I think this is a good one to get back on track, regroup after a loss, and I'm like you. I think Tennessee, obviously, Kentucky can muddy things up as we will see, but I feel like they don't do it that often back to back, and I think this is a bounce back spot for Tennessee. I think they'll be motivated off the loss. Everything's still ahead of them. Like if they win out, they've got a great chance to make the playoffs. So I think you'll still see a motivated team here with their goals kind of still ahead of them, and I think they get a win here.
I agree. Missouri's going to Vandy. Vandy's a 2.5-point favorite. I think these teams are very similar. I think Vanderbilt has a little more of an edge to them. I would probably lean Vanderbilt to win this game, but I'm staying away from the line because I can see it going either way. However, you can score on this Missouri defense. Vanderbilt's proven they can score against anybody. They've put up 30-plus multiple times this year. Vanderbilt has proven that their defense is going to give up points as well. Missouri has proven they can score high number, get up in the 30s, 40s in some ball games as well. So I think the over is going to hit. Over is 52.5. I think both of these offenses get it going. I think they get scoring early. Again, I'm not high on either one of these defenses, but both of these offenses can move the ball down the field. They can sustain drives. Give me the over 52.5 in the Missouri-Vandy game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Vandy here to get the win. I just love the way they're playing. They're a hot team. They're a confident team right now. The game day's coming in. First time they've been ranked in the first time they've been in the top 10 the AP poll since World War II was going on. I mean, just unbelievable run that Vandy's been on. I think they keep it rolling here. I think it's a very close game. I think, both teams kind of want to play a similar style. Like, these are two teams that want to establish running the football. Vanderbilt's a team they want to control time of possession. But I just like the way I just think Pavia is playing better than Bo Perbua is right now. Like I said, I like the defensive front of Missouri. The secondary is a little suspect here and there, but I do like their pass rush, so that's a concern for Vandy for sure. But I think with it being there in Nashville, with all the extracurricular activities of game day being in town, being back in the top 10, a trip to Atlanta potentially. They're the playoffs are like everything's in reach for this Vandy team. I just think they're going to ride that wave, ride that momentum. I think it's going to be a great ball game, but I'll lean Vandy to get it done at home.
Texas is going to Mississippi State. Texas is a 7.5-point favorite. Over-under set at 45.5. I think the over-under is probably about right. Not many people have scored a lot of points on Texas. I think the most they've given up this year was to Florida. It was 29. Uh, I, I I don't know, man. I'm staying away from this game completely. I can see Mississippi State keeping it close, man. I love their offense. I really do love Mississippi State's offense. Their defense, they're going to give up some points, man. There's times they're going to create turnovers. A few weeks ago we talked about Mississippi State had a chance to win, but they gave 14 points from offense on 2 turnovers. So Mississippi State's defense they can compete. I don't know that they can last all 4 quarters with this Texas team, though. I have more faith in Texas's defense. I think Texas finds a way to get the win, but I think it's probably within that number. I'm staying away from it, but if I had to bet it, I would bet Mississippi State plus 7.5. But I'm staying away from that completely.
I would too. I would if I'm making a pick on it, I would take probably Texas outright, but I think Mississippi State can keep it certainly within that number. Texas offense, I know they were able to have some success against Oklahoma, but I mean, they have not done much else. I mean, this offense you just don't see a Steve Sarkisian offense with this kind of struggle very often. So I think that will play into Mississippi State's hands. I think they can keep it kind of on the lower scoring end of things. I mean, Texas obviously has an elite defense. So, if I'm picking this game, I see I see this like a 24-20 type of game, something like that. I think Texas got more talent, but I mean, I feel like on the other hand, I think Mississippi State's due though. Like they've been so close to breaking through and getting that win. So if they won it outright, I would not be shocked at all. I may take that number potentially if it were to creep up to 7.5 or 8. I may go that direction with Mississippi State. Wouldn't be shocked if they won it outright. Like I said, it just kind of feels like they're due. This could be a team that's gettable, but I think I will lean Texas to win it though. Obviously they need it to stay alive, keep their season alive at 5-2. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game in Starkville, like most of Mississippi State's games have been, because they've been so close to pulling a couple upsets. I think it'd be something similar this week.
SEC matchup of the weekend. A game we're used to seeing the last few years on the last weekend of the season, but since the expansion, that has been moved around. Texas A&M is going to LSU. Texas A&M is a 2.5-point favorite. It is a 6:30 kickoff in Death Valley, but man, LSU just, I believe, matched their season total in points past weekend with 23 or whatever it was. They just cannot score. The Texas A&M's defense is really good. We know about the Texas A&M offense. We've sung the praises of Texas A&M, finding ways to win in multiple different ways. I just think flat out this Texas A&M team is head and shoulders better than this LSU team. Mike Elko had them going in the right direction last year. In the last few weeks of the season, just kind of lost it and lost 3 or 4 in a row. I just don't think that he's going to allow his team to have that type of mentality lapse again this year. I think they're going to be ready to go. I like A&M to win this game big. I think A&M could win this game 31-17, 34-20, something like that. I don't have faith in this LSU offense, and I have all the faith in the world in this whole entire team of A&M. Give me A&M minus 2.5.
Yeah, I like A&M to win this game too. I definitely think they're the better team right now. I want to see. Obviously, this kind of feels like a last. I don't want to say last gasp for LSU, but it's like, I mean, they're sitting at 5-2 on the season. I mean, if you lose this, you're eliminated from everything. And so it's just like, I think you're going to get LSU's best effort here. I just feel like they lose this game, I feel like it could really go off the tracks a little bit, because you go into bye, you got to go to Tuscaloosa, you still got to go to Norman at the end of the year. So it's like, man, this is such a critical game going into the bye week. I just feel like the vibes would be so far down if this game goes south on them. So I think you're going to get a really good effort from LSU. I think they keep it close, but I just think A&M's the better team. Death Valley at night, like I said, they're wounded animal mode. I mean, it's going to be rocking there. But like you said, though, I just think A&M's the better team, the better playing team. I definitely trust their offense much more than LSU's right now. So I think A&M wins this game. I think it'll be fairly close, but like I said, I think things could go even more south for LSU if if this doesn't go their way. So I expect a really good effort to basically keep their season alive here. But I do think this A&M team's a little too good, and should be exciting game, exciting atmosphere down there for sure. And see if A&M can stay undefeated and undefeated in the SEC, have a chance to get to Atlanta.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Week 9's already here, man. We blink and it's week 9. I swear, if we wait forever for it to get here, it finally gets here, and then you're in mid-season before you know it. Best time of the year, man. We got playoff baseball going on. World Series is about to start. We're in the heart of college football. NFL's in the full swing of things now. I mean, from now on, we got like 25 more days of straight football on TV for the rest of through I think the middle of November or something along those lines. So I mean, it's again the best time of the year, and I couldn't be more pumped. But I wish it would slow down just a smidge.
For sure, man. This season is just flying by, just like they always do. It's insane how quick it goes. But I mean, I tell you what, we got obviously playoff races. We're only a couple weeks from the first college football playoff rankings coming out. SEC, conference title races, a coaching carousel that has just gotten started. There's no telling what else is going to happen on that front. So, man, I mean, these next 2.5 months or more, we're going to have just tons of more news than we have time to talk about. So I can't wait for that. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a follow on TikTok, on Twitter at Saturdays_SEC. And, we just really appreciate you guys tuning in. Can't wait for another great week here in the SEC.
Thank you, guys.